Long ago, when the world was bright and full of stories, an evil wizard gained the power to touch the face of God. Narrativa, goddess of stories and weaver of our world, banished him to the void, but not before he stole a piece of her divine essence. With this newfound power, the wizard lay a dread curse upon all the world, the Glyph Purge, which struck from the minds of all mortals the knowledge of how to read and write. Now, all that stand between the Isle of Meotia and an age of endless ignorance are the bards, who tell stories of distant lands, exotic creatures, and brave heroes. This is one such tale. Hello and welcome to Challenge Rating Zero, the latest and greatest Dungeons & Dragons podcast to hit the internet airwaves. I am Sam, your Dungeon Master, and I am joined as always by my longtime friends and adventuring companions.
Hello, I'm Brian, and I play Hektor the Gatekeeper.
Hi, I'm Beth, and I play Rilla Longshadow.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I play Ruger Firehide.
And last but not least, we have the man who calls himself Michael, but who we call Parker, Michael Parker, playing the Druid Zurabak. Say hi, Parker.
Hi, Parker.
Fantastic. We are joined once again for a tale of epic fantasy. Yeah, we got into some stuff last time. We had some folks just passing away and coming back. Lots of real heavy themes and tones. But we've got some stuff to catch up on, so let's get just right fucking into it. When last we left our heroes, Hektor, Rilla, Zurabak, and the lawman Ruger Firehide concluded their adventure in the Springvale Forest, having survived the onslaught of rabid beasts and dead plants corrupted from the magical blight of the Badlands. Our heroes finally made their way to the ancient towering martyr's tree in the center of the wood, and after engaging a large horde of zombies, they not only kept Rilla's kid sister safe from sacrifice, but Rilla herself faced down the guardian spirit that lived within the tree. The dreaded wraith foretold by Inga Hilltopple's cards so very long ago, and in the form of a powerful 9-headed hydra, she did slay this terrible spirit, but unfortunately succumbed to the horrible wounds she suffered during that battle and passed away herself. Our heroes gingerly recovered Rilla's body and completed the journey from the martyr's tree back to Everspring after collecting the Death's Head orchids that they had originally gone into the forest to collect, one of the pieces of the great spell they'll need to cast to end the Glyph Purge and fix all of Meotia. But before we get to our heroes' continuing journey in the city of Everspring and reconnect with a recently revived Rilla, who was brought back from death by the Hierophant herself, we need to travel back a bit to the moment of Rilla's passing. We find ourselves back in the Springvale Forest. Rilla, having just turned back into her elven form, gaunt and sickly, succumbing to the wounds she suffered from the dread wraith, her hands held by her Aunt Erefin and her sister Dara, looks upon her companions as the life leaves her eyes. Rilla. Darkness surrounds you on all sides, finally closing in, and your last breath rattles out of your elven frame, and there is nothing. Blackness and silence. You drift, formless, nearly thoughtless, in an endless expanse of black nothing, for what seems like ages. And after an eternity, floating in the black, you see a small point of light in the impossible distance. it slowly grows, and you realize that it's coming closer, and it resolves itself into a form that you recognize. Instead of a point of light, you see a ghostly, ethereal, furry, four-legged form. Your familiar, Rutherford, the Maine Coon cat, hovers before you, phantasmal and resplendent. The only shape that is recognizable in this infinite sea of darkness. And Rutherford says,
Mistress, it seems that the worst has finally befallen you. But I told you, no matter what happens, I would not leave you behind.
It's really good to see you, Rutherford. Uh, honestly, the quiet wasn't bad. If this is the worst, it's not that terrible, you know?
The void is the resting place for all souls when their stories end. It is not something that anyone should fear when it is in its proper place. As your familiar, I have not only a physical form, but a spiritual one. I will be your anchor and your guide through this place. There are some people that would like to see you, and I will take you to them. Follow me, mistress.
and he turns and floats away from you through this endless black. Tell me, Rilla, do you follow?
I mean, I think I try to, but I'm like, do I just will myself?
It is
Yeah.
incredibly disorienting. Yeah, you look down and you don't have hands to wave in front of your face. You don't have a body. You are not entirely sure how to move yourself in all of this emptiness. You're not even sure really how your consciousness is uh, um, keeping together. The words you spoke, you heard, but not with ears, and they did not come from a mouth. But as you will yourself forward after your familiar, whose ghostly trail leaves a clear path before you, you are able to follow after. Rutherford floats, taking long, slow strides through the endless sea of darkness that is the void. But curiously, as you follow his ghostly trail through all of this emptiness, shadows start to stand out from the darkness around you, blacker than the surrounding blackness, and they start to take a more definite shape until they resolve themselves into trees, bushes. You see a gray, overcast sky start to form in the endless dark above you, and rolling grass starts to form in the darkness at your feet. You look down and see that as you follow after your cat's trail, you too are starting to materialize. A ghostly version of your arms and legs forms that you can see, and you feel not the full weight of your body, but you do start to get a few dulled sensations as after a few minutes of following your faithful familiar, he alights upon a ghostly stump, and you are fully immersed in a spectral forest. White, shadowy trees and plant life move in a phantom breeze all around you, and you can tell, even with these washed out colors, you are in the Springvale Forest. Particularly, you are in a small clearing that is very familiar to you. It is a place that your parents used to take you to when you were very young to get away from the bustle of the village of Greenleaf. As Rutherford curls up and seemingly begins to nap, unconcerned on this stump. You see two spectral forms move towards you out of this ghostly forest, and you see your mother and father approach you.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I don't know what Rilla's reaction would be there. Maybe a small gasp if I have enough lungs for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you are able to, even in your ghostly form, manage a gasp. And your mother speaks. My dearest and darling daughter, I am so proud of you. And she rushes forward, arms outstretched to hold you in an embrace.
I hug her so hard.
Your father approaches and joins this hug as well. You get a nice family huddle for a very long time, and you, I assume, relish the feeling of your parents' arms around you once more.
Yeah, I'm also storing the fact that she called me her dearest. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not Dara. There's a little sibling rivalry there. Not that I'll ever
Yeah,
say
you'll
it.
have that to brag about for eternity.
I'll just know about it. You know.
Yeah. After a few minutes of this warm embrace, your mother takes a step back and holds your shoulders in her hands, holds you at arm's length, and just stares at you, looks you up and down, and says, "It's been so long since we've seen you, so long since our eyes have graced your face. I can't believe the woman that stands before me. You're so strong. Look at you."
Yeah. Well, I had to be. You weren't there, and someone had to watch after Dara. So I did it as best as I could for you guys.
Your father says, "You've done more than we could have dared hope in our wildest imaginings. Dear girl, not only have you survived and grown into this powerful woman we see before us, but you freed us. Us and all the rest." And your father gestures behind him, and out of the trees in this phantasmal forest you find yourself in, you see the faces of dozens, scores of elves. Some dressed in clothing familiar to you, the sort of muted greens and browns of any wild elf living in the forest, but some seem to be wearing fashions that are ancient from the height of elven culture. Elaborate robes, high collars, flared pauldrons made of carved wooden armor. A sea of faces looks on this meeting between you and your parents, and your father says, "The elders were not kind to those of us that question them.
No shit.
Our ancestors gave their lives to weave the veil over our home, to protect us from the ravages of the humans' wars after the Glyph Purge fell. They gave everything, their lives, their bloods, their souls, to power the veil that kept us safe. And they demanded blood to keep the veil strong. This was known to only the oldest and strongest of us, the ones that would become elders, the ones that would lead our people in the ages to come. And at first, those who were willing, those who had lived a long life, those who had nothing else to live for, gladly sacrificed themselves to keep the people safe. But as decades and centuries passed, the elders started to choose on their own who they would give to the tree. Elder Willow, that rotten bastard, knew what you were the day you were born. When you came into this world, a terrible storm ripped through Greenleaf. A bolt of lightning shattered an entire tree. It was a foretelling of the power within you. The elder came to us and told us that with the magic in your blood, you could keep the veil strong for 100 years if we gave you to the martyr's tree. We told him that the whole forest could die for all we cared. We would not give you up. He told us there was another way. Your mother says, he led us out into the middle of the forest. He showed us the martyr's tree. He said if we performed a rite there, we could keep you safe. And he killed us. He murdered us there in the shadow of that tree and gave our blood, like elders before him, sacrificed all of these people. Our souls were trapped, part of the force that kept the spell alive. But you, my dearest and darling, you saved all of us. We are free now. Our souls are no longer bound to that corrupting spell. We are free, finally free, to enter the void and rest forever. We all owe you eternity. We could not be more proud. And they rush forward to hug you again. The elves all around, watching from this spectral forest, all put their hands over their hearts in salute to you, and one by one, they all disappear in wisps of smoke to join the ephemeral forest surrounding you.
Nobody owes me anything. I just had to do it. This was obviously wrong, but I don't want anyone thinking they have an allegiance to me or a debt, you know? Willow's an asshole, and I blinded him. He can't see elves anymore. Really want to kill him, but then he would just be free like all of you. That's not really good, is it?
Your mother says, no, dear, I suppose that wouldn't. Elder Willow deserves whatever fate you bestowed upon him, and doubtless far worse. But we have lingered here a bit too long. You, my sweet girl, are not meant for the void quite yet. Your story is not ended. We have the gods to thank for this reunion, but it will be brief. You have much more to do in the world, many more people to save. And, your mother says, our other daughter to look after. I am sorry that so much has fallen to you, but there are no better hands in all of Meosha to make sure that Dara grows up strong and smart and proud. You two are the last of the long shadows, and I know greatness will follow you. It already has.
I kind of figured with the whole protagonist thing I wasn't going to get off easy. I'll do my best. I've always been doing my best with her. She's a lot of work, but I couldn't ask for a better sister. I'll keep an eye on her as long as I'm down there.
Well, know every moment of every day that we love you, we are proud of you, and we could not hope for a better legacy. You are everything good about the elven people. I hope you keep that in mind.
It's a heavy burden.
But one you will bear well. Farewell, my child. And your mother and father rush in to hug you one last time. They hold you tight, squeezing you with all their might as tears roll down their cheeks to turn into wisps of smoke in this phantom breeze. And then they, too, start to fade, turning into a gray cloud, their bodies mixing together in one great mist as this phantom wind carries them out of your arms. And soon the spectral forest surrounding you starts to fade as well, until all that is left is Rutherford, who uncurls, stretches, and yawns mightily and looks up at you and says,
Mistress, time runs short. Even now, your companions are doing everything they can to bring you back to the land of the living. I will guide you there, but there is one more stop to make. There is someone who would very much like to meet you.
and he takes off again, his spectral form leaving a trail behind him. You follow after?
No, I stay here forever. What now, DM?
As you stand resolutely with your arms crossed, the world changes around you magically, with magic. The trail that Rutherford leaves behind leads to a enormous doorway. It is just a square slit of light in this endless sea of darkness, and Rutherford heads forward and nudges his head against it, and this pane of pure black in this rectangle of light swings open, and a beam of pure radiance washes over your ghostly form, pouring into the void, nearly blinding you. And you see silhouetted against this deluge of brilliant light a strange form. It seems to be constantly shifting. You see the silhouette of a human, then an elf, then a bear, then a stag, then a great fish, then an eel. This form seems to be constantly shifting, and not just the entirety of the silhouette. At one point, it seems to be a human with stag horns, then a great dragon with 6 heads, then a toad with snakes for legs. This constantly shifting form says,
"Oh, aren't you a sight? Passed into the void before your time? Oh, you are quite an interesting one, aren't you? It's good to meet you, lass. I'm Protos, god of heroes."
Ah, shit. Hi.
Don't you worry, lass, I get that quite a lot.
as he speaks, Rutherford floats up to the constantly shifting eye level and sort of purrs deeply as he nuzzles against the head of this god, which is now the head of a bull and now the head of an eagle, constantly shifting forms. And Protos, god of heroes, says,
You've picked a fine companion in Rutherford. He's a rather smart cat, a great breed, a strong spirit.
he scratches him with a talon that turns into a tentacle that turns into a pair of pincers.
You and your friends, lass, have caught my eye. I've got to say, I've not seen a more interesting pack of protagonists in quite some time. I think you lot have what it takes to really change things on the mortal realm. I'm quite excited to see your progress going forward. I don't normally do this kind of thing, revealing myself to mortals, even those that have crossed to this side. But you have shown quite a knack for something that I have a lot of interest in. You just can't stay in one shape, can you, lass?
Not really. I kind of find it limiting.
It's boring, right?
Yeah.
So very boring.
There's just so many other things you can be. Like, why stay one thing?
Oh, you and I have that in common for sure. I never am the same thing for more than a moment. I am blessed to have breathed life into every sentient and wild creature in the entire mortal realm, and I'm in love with every single one of them. They're all so fascinating. The crawling and flying, the skittering and slithering. I can't make my mind up either. That's why I try to take on every form I can. Now, you have done a great job keeping things interesting. You have work to do back in the mortal realm, so we'll be sending you back there here soon, but that comes with a bit of a trade-off. You won't remember too terribly much, I'm afraid, from your time here on the other side. There will be a lingering sense of satisfaction. I will not remove the joy you felt in seeing your parents again for sure, but there's things here that you can't let other mortals know about. It's got to be a mystery and all that. I will, however, leave you with a bit of inspiration. A few secrets I've learned about changing your shape in all my time being a god. Just a little spark to set you on your way. I think you'll use it to great effect, lass. Now, close your eyes, and when you wake, you'll have a small slice of my power. I hope to see great things from you and your friends in the future. Ta now! Bye-bye!
And a long tendril that turns into a feathered wing and a clawed talon, and then a large muscled hand touches you on the forehead, and blinding light surges into you, fills up your vision, and you shudder more violently than you ever have in your entire life. And that shuddering turns into a gasp that racks your entire body. And when you open your eyes, you are laying on a slab of stone inside a temple with all of your family and friends all around you, and Rutherford nuzzled on your chest. Back in the land of the living. So, that is Rilla's journey into the afterlife. We know what happens after that. You have a few words with your sister. Your friends rejoice at your resurrection, except Zurabak, who's currently drinking with the stricken. Your sister informs you of your title, Rilla the Returned, and you are horrified to see that the elves that have immigrated to Everspring are waiting to salute you as you exit the temple of Protos. And a few days pass. You all take some time to recover from your latest adventure, to reconnect with the locals here in town, to pursue your own projects before your next adventure, and, most importantly, to level up! All of our players have leveled up as a result of this adventure. They've all gone up 2 levels, so real quick, let's just unpack what we gained in these levels. Let's start with, Hektor the Gatekeeper, Keeper of the Gates. Hektor?
Hello, I am Hektor.
You got 2 levels.
Yes.
What did you level in?
I took 2 levels of wizard.
Can't, not in this. Wizards aren't there's a thing called the Glyph Purge. I guess I didn't break down, the world very well in the 61 episodes we've been doing.
I'm sorry.
There's
I
no
took
wizards.
2 levels of magic user.
Okay. That's too old an addition. We don't do that anymore. We're 3.5, so
I
want to dial it in.
I was talking 3.5, I just wasn't being specific. I took 2 levels of bard.
Yay!
Which-
You've become even bardier.
Yes, which now puts me at an even split. I have 6 levels barbarian, 6 levels bard. I am a pure barbarian.
Yes, the classic archetypal barbarian. The most powerful combination of classes. I don't think anyone will argue that. Sweet. So what did you get for your 2 levels of bard, Brian?
I gained some. All my saves went up just a little bit. My base attack went up a little bit.
Nice.
Got my skill points. I do now know 1 additional 2nd level spell, which I have chosen Minor Image for.
Ooh, interesting. So you have the ability to cast illusions?
Yes. Minor illusions. Yeah, and I got a new. I got Suggestion as a new
Very cool.
bardic music ability. Although I'd never use the Fascinate because Hector's not really the let me alter your mind with my magic type, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to
You
use.
used Fascinate on a swarm in our last adventure.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, bards have the ability to, as Hector displayed in our previous adventure, the ability to fascinate targets with their performance, in Hector's case, storytelling, and with suggestion, Hector can now take any creature he's fascinated with this performance and basically mind control them a little bit. He can implant suggestions in the minds of those who are enraptured by his performance. Very cool. Nice. All right, so Hector is more bardy, even bardier than before. Nicely done.
Oh, and this leveling, we got an ability point, which I put in Charisma, which doesn't change my modifier, but I did put it in Charisma. And we also got
So what is your charisma score now?
15.
Ooh, pretty.
Yeah. And we got a feat, which I took a feat called Obscure Lore, which gives me a bonus to Bardic Knowledge checks.
Hell yeah. Very cool. So you're even better at being a nerd.
Yeah.
All right, our bookish barbarian, so to speak. Very cool.
I do have a dog named Book.
You do have a dog named Book.
So I would
You
say
are
I am bookish.
Excellent. All right. So Hector the Gatekeeper, even more bardy, got some mind control, got some access to increasingly obscure lore. Very cool. Zurabak, what did you take 2 levels in?
I don't know, druid.
That sounds about right. So you are a 12th level druid, even more druidy than you ever were before. What kind of cool stuff did you get for 2 levels of druid?
Snake got thicker, not bigger, just thicker,
Your animal companion's now more powerful. Nice.
and effectively got more spells.
So yeah, as a 12th level druid, yeah, you are now able to cast 6 level spells, which include things like speak to rocks, teleport via plants, and create treant, where you turn a stick into a tree monster. Just terrifying stuff.
I can turn acorns into grenades. It's a great time.
Yes. Yeah, fire seeds. It's going to be just terrifying to watch you go forward from now on. Very cool. Increased spell power, a better animal companion. Who could ask for more? You also got a feat.
Everyone could ask for more.
What feat did you pick?
Extend spell, meta magic feat. Adds to the level of the spell, so it would cast higher and makes durations double.
Excellent.
For
So
like buff spells and whatnot.
nice. So you now have a feat that lets you double the duration of spells you cast. They are more expensive to cast, but they now last twice as long. Very cool. Very useful. Nice. Excellent. All right. Moving right along. Ruger Firehide. What did you do for levels?
I took 2 levels of Paladin, which made me a little beefier on the base attack bonus and on the saving throws. It also now lets me do Smite Evil twice a day and remove disease once a week.
Nice.
I also unlocked a special mount, which, according to my dungeon master, we'll get to. And let's see, I took an ability point in my dexterity score, which did raise my modifier. It's now a 16 plus 3.
Excellent.
So that helped as well. And then lastly, but far from leastly, I took a feat called Devoted Tracker.
The perfect feat for your build, one that we had to dig into the rule books to find, and then that Parker just found it on a whim like he always does.
Yeah, buried there somewhere in the depths of his 3.5 knowledge.
It was right there. I just had to actually look.
Proving our point.
Well, that was more than I did, but I was grateful the same because, Devoted Tracker basically marries Ranger and Paladin, allowing for some of my abilities to count both level tracks in them. So, like Smite Evil and Lay on Hands are both far the beefier for this experience.
Yeah, so with the Devoted Tracker feat, all of Ruger's levels of Ranger and Paladin now count for his Smite Evil damage, so his smites are far more powerful. It also adds to his Wild Empathy checks, so he's far better at communicating with animals. And since Ruger has increased in Paladin levels to get a special mount, his Devoted Tracker feat allows him to apply all the bonuses from a Ranger's animal companion with the bonuses of a Paladin's special mount, which, as Alex alluded to, we will fucking get to. And I'm very excited. It's going to be ridiculous.
Let's
sweet.
go.
So Ruger is more Paladin-y. So what's your spread now? What's your Ranger and Paladin levels?
I am perfectly balanced, as all things should be. I am 6 and 6.
Sweet. So we got a 6 and 6 Bard Debarian. We've got a 6 and 6 Rangedin. We've got a level 12 Druid. And finally, lastly but not leastly, we get to the special case of Rilla Longshadow. Now,
Yep.
Rilla has recently, unfortunately, died. She was brought back to life, but the Raise Dead spell in this version of the game has a cost. Those that die and are brought back with the Raise Dead spell do officially lose 1 level, as the traumatic effect of being killed and then being ripped from the afterlife back to the material plane takes its toll on the body, mind, and spirit. So, unfortunately, Rilla gets 1 level instead of 2. However, why don't you break off a piece of what that level is?
Sure. Yeah. And I really, it's not that big of a deal. I'm already the squishiest of the group. I just continue to be. So I took my first level of Master Transmographist.
Hell yeah.
So this is going to let me specialize in polymorph, essentially. It's a pretty cool class, prestige class that I will be doing for the rest of this campaign. And I don't think we're going to get to the point, but the very last level of it, you're able to, like Protos himself, shove a bunch of different monsters together and make your own weird, disgusting thing. So I'm really looking forward to it. But it doesn't give a lot, that first level. So, I mean, I got a few skill points, a slightly improved will save. I don't get another feat. I don't get another ability score. It's not the strongest of first level. So next level will be cool, and Rilla will still be gaining some sorcerer levels, but I think I lose essentially 4 of them going forward.
So your spellcasting potential will be slowly increasing as you take levels of this class. But
yes.
The main feature of your first level of Master Transmographist, this wonderful prestige class based on shapeshifting, is that you get
extended changes.
Yes, you get 3 signature creatures that are your like signature go-to transformations, right?
Yeah, your favorite shapes. And on those you get eventually you'll get a lot more things, but to start with you just get extended change time.
Excellent.
Which is pretty cool. And then there's a bunch of other stuff we'll get going forward. I'm still playing around with my final shape. I'm not sure yet. I didn't think we needed it this level or this recording. So we'll see. I picked 2, but you'll pretty much just see Rilla polymorphing from here on out. I think, at least whenever it's useful. Which when is it not useful to be a Hydra? Honestly,
Absolutely. So yeah, Rilla being
When you're trying to fit through a small hole.
well,
I'll just bite the hole bigger with 12 heads. Brian, if I can eat a tree, I can make a hole.
so blessed by this.
When you're trying to ration out a small amount of food.
So blessed by this divine spark from Protos, the god of heroes, who is everyone, all at once. Rilla has unlocked the Master Transmographist prestige class, which gives her some extra bonuses to shapeshifting. Fantastic!
So Rilla is a level 9 sorcerer, a level 1 rogue, and a level 1 master transmographist. I don't have equal levels.
Excellent spread.
Yes.
Excellent. Fantastic. So, our heroes have leveled up. You are currently in the city of Everspring. You have led a large contingent of wild elves from the now partially blighted Springvale Forest here to Everspring to find home with the aquatic elves living in the lake. And you have a few days to rest and recuperate. Lore Master Holland has informed you that you have some downtime before you are needed again to go on another dangerous mission. So my question to you all is, what would you like to do? You've got some free time here, some downtime. I think you guys had some stuff queued up. Let's roll initiative real quick and see who we're going to get to first.
Firstly, I'd just like to point out she's not the boss of me. I'll take downtime whenever I want.
Oh, Zurabak, we all know that Zurabak does whatever the fuck Zurabak wants to do. This is for everyone else. All right, Ruger, what'd you get?
10.
And Hektor, what'd you get?
4.
Rilla, what'd you get?
12.
And Zurabak, what'd you get?
I got an 18, and Snake got
Shut up.
Oh,
20,
come on.
27, 28?
Snake
28.
enrolls in Bard school. That's what Snake does, huh?
He's old enough to go to school, I think. Probably.
So, we are in the city of Everspring, and we've got some downtime, and we're going to start with Zurabak. King of the Shocker Lizards, Champion of the Goats, Emperor of the Rats, Duke of the Isle of Neho, Zurabak the Unburned. You've got some free time. What are you getting up to?
Well, Zurabak needs 2 things.
Okay.
To look clearly way more regal than everything in existence, and a herald.
Interesting. Okay, those are 2 pretty big projects. I think that's doable. I'm curious how you're going to go about this. So what are we doing on the regal front?
Well, the regal front, I did just gain the Iron Wood spell.
Oh my.
So I can make wood as hard as iron.
That sounds useful.
And actually wear wood armor and not care about anything.
Excellent.
Which will also increase my AC by just a tad.
Considering how terrible your armor class has been this entire game, that sounds like quite a boon. So you have the ability to craft armor made of wood, which as a druid you can wear, and then make that wood as hard as iron. So how are we going about this, Zurabak?
Well, first, Zurabak has to sit down and think, what type of wood would just look great on him?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only answer he can think of that would also be a detriment to someone else is the wood wall at Bramble.
Wow, okay. That's a deep cut for those longtime listeners that have been with us from the beginning, which, considering this is episodic, is necessary to understand the game. So anyway, Bramble is the first town we ever went to, nestled in the nettle-filled depths of the Briar Marsh, where Zurabak's Druid Circle calls home. Bramble is the city that was in trouble from a bunch of poisoned hunters and trappers. A city made of bone-white wood. An excellent choice. So you want to try to get some of that wood?
There's no try. I am.
Okay. Zurabak has set his mind to getting that wood. Well, Zurabak, I have to ask, you are all the way up in the Everspring Mountains, many, hundreds of miles away from the Briar Marsh where our adventure started. How are you going to get there?
More overpowered magic is the answer.
What magic would that be?
Well, first, I also have a spell that I can put a spell in a stick
Okay.
called Spell Staff.
So Spell Staff allows you to place one of your druid spells just into a stick
Correct.
for use at a later time.
Yep.
Excellent.
I'm going to put Transport via Plants into said 9-foot stick.
Okay. So your new transportation spell, which lets you teleport with plants, you're going to place that in your 9-foot pole, the long poking stick you've had over the course of this entire campaign. Can't think of a more fitting reliquary. All right, so we've got a teleport spell in our stick. What's next?
And then I'm going to use my last 6th level spell of the day to just find some sort of swamp plant in the area that I know is near Bramble and big enough to fit in, and I cast my other Transport via Plants to go there.
Holy crap. Excellent. So, with
Want me to roll
transport
like
via
a knowledge
plants,
nature or survival or something?
you are going to need to roll a knowledge nature to find a fitting plant. So, for those that don't know, the transport via plant spell allows a druid to walk bodily into a plant and then walk out of the same type of plant any distance away from the one he stepped into. Zurabak now has the ability to, as long as plant life is willing, jump from place to place, all willy-nilly like, which I think we're getting on display here. So,
He's a horror monster. That's what he is.
what's up?
He's a horror monster now. He just kind of steps out of like a bush or a tree in the middle of the woods and then he's gone again.
Listen,
Yeah.
I've always been a horror monster. You just haven't realized it.
Oh no, we've
Oh,
realized.
we realized it. No.
There's-
You're
there-
much better at it.
We just tolerate
There's
it.
been, yeah. There's been no doubt. Okay, great. Yeah, roll a knowledge nature for me. What'd you get?
28?
Damn.
18
Yeah.
plus 10?
There is a particular kind of bush that grows near water, and it happens to grow near Lake Danum here by the city of Everspring. It is 2 hours walk from the bar, the Crooked Stool you were drinking in with the Stricken. And yeah, after having a nice think, you just wander out of the bar and easily find one of these bushes.
I wait till it's like a crowded area, and then I just shout at the bush, "You!" And then I like dive into the bush and use the spell.
Excellent. Yeah, a small group of students that are studying bushcraft out in the wilderness outside of the city leap into the air as you find a bramble bush, and you jump inside of it after giving this great shout, and you are instantly transported from the chilly, high-altitude mountain air of Everspring to the dank, humid, fetid swamps of the Briar Marsh, not half a mile from the city of Bramble. You can see it off in the distance. It's bone white wood standing in stark contrast to the surrounding foliage.
I drink some water.
It is just as foul as you remember it.
Zurabak walks towards the town.
Yeah, you get there no problem. There are no hunters in the area, and every single animal that crosses your path almost seems to bow in your presence before getting the fuck out of your way.
Rightly so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you quickly get to the wall of bramble. It's beautiful, bone white wood standing resplendent before you.
I walk up to the wall and I cast wood shape on it and make me some medium armor. Let's go with a breastplate.
Excellent. Using your druidic powers, you place your hand on the gleaming white wood of this wall, and under your hand, it warps and turns and folds in on itself until a segment of this wooden wall turns into a gleaming white wooden breastplate. As the wall shrinks and contorts into this suit of armor, you see directly on the other side of it 3 terrified villagers from Brambles see your face and scream and run in the opposite direction, tripping over themselves as they do.
As it should be.
Indeed. We will leave you there for just a moment in the Briar Marsh, cannibalizing some of Brambles' infrastructure.
They don't need it.
They sure don't. And we're going to pop over to Ruger, who got a 14.
Yeah, so there's a few things I'd like to do. I would love to...
Tell me all about it, stud.
Okay, so I'd like to go see the Hierophant at the Church of Protos and pick me up another one of those protagonist badges, because I gave my last one away.
Fantastic.
I wouldn't hate tracking down my good friend Captain Kurz and catching a drink with him, perhaps at the, the Tilted Stool? Is that right?
Well, Crooked Stool. Let's start with that. You head to the Temple of Protos, this large gray stone building with the symbol of Protos, the featureless mask with the sword and arrow cross behind it, and you are saluted by the guards outside as you walk into the doors. And you see the Hierophant, Greta Grimsbane, a teenage girl dressed in drab brown clothes with an enormous heavy sword strapped to her hip, and she is playing chess with Kurz. Just casually, like, sitting next to each other in one of the pews leading up to the altar with the chessboard between them. Kurz is utilizing a very strategic defense, and it seems like Greta is just moving pieces at random, but Kurz can't seem to get a fucking handle on anything. They both turn as you walk in. Kurz says, "Ah, Firehide! Glorious to see you, friend. It's been a few days since we got Rilla back in the land of the living. Is she doing okay?"
Oh, Kurz, she is as formless as ever, buddy.
"Well, I'm happy to hear it." The Hierophant says, "Yeah, it was really, really hard to bring her back to life, so I'm pretty happy that all worked out. I haven't prayed like that in a long time."
Yeah, I really appreciate that again. I know I've said it before, but really, really appreciate you conjuring my friend back from the dimension of death. That was really, really kind of you. You and, the Iron Shogun for throwing in that big-ass diamond.
All in a day's work.
Well, ma'am, I don't mean to interrupt your chess game, but I was wondering if I could pick up one of those nice, shiny protagonist badges you had. I seemingly misplaced my last one in the Springvale Forest.
I couldn't help but notice that Dara, Rilla's sister, seemed to have one that I don't remember handing out. You wouldn't have to know anything about that, would you, Ruger?
Oh, no. She's a wily one, that Dara. She must have... I can't rightly... It's fine. Can I just, though, have a second one just as a spare?
It's okay, Ruger. You don't have to worry. Trust me. Dara more than earned that badge. She's definitely protagonist material. Believe you me. And as far as you getting another one, I actually think Kurz and I may have an even better idea. Kurz says, "Fear not, Firehide. It merely occurred to the two of us, as you were gone on your latest adventure, that there is a formal invitation I've been meaning to place at your feet. I've been after you for quite a long time, Firehide, to join up with a proper knightly order. You are a protagonist. You are a paladin of Protos, the god of heroes. Would you do us the honor of formally joining our order and becoming a scrivener of the Order of the Quill?
Well, Curse, I don't know how long you have been asking me that question, but for the first time in our shared history, I'm going to give you a new answer. Yes, buddy. I'll join your Order of Knights.
Huzzah! He stands up and is like giddy. He's like dancing back and forth in the balls of his feet and says, I told you, great Hierophant. It's like, please, Kurz, it's Greta. Just please calm down. Calm down. This is a momentous occasion. Kurz pulls out from under his half cape a protagonist badge, but this one is different than the one you had before. The one you had before was just a symbol of Protos, that featureless mask with the sword and arrow cross behind it. This one is that featureless mask with a quill and a scroll crossed behind it. The Knights of the Order of the Quill are not only adventuring heroes, defenders of the weak, and servants of the will of Protos, we are also guardians of the vault. It is our sacred duty to keep safe all written works from destruction, from harm, and to safeguard them in the event that the glyph purge is one day ended, and we can bestow this stored knowledge upon all the land once more. If you join this knightly order, you can continue your works, but you will also have the distinction of unlimited access to the vault, all the works therein, and may occasionally have to pick up a night shift. It's not that big a deal. Are you in?
I'm dedicated to the cause, Curse.
Then, by the rights vested in me, by our glorious Hierophant, please, Kurz, it's Greta, please, our glorious Hierophant, I, Scrivener Kurz, here dub you Ruger Firehide, Scrivener of the Order of the Quill. Welcome. And he places this badge around your neck on a silver chain.
Nice. Thanks. I just came here for a badge. Didn't mean to pick up a knighthood.
Well, fear not, Firehide. There's other benefits as well. For one thing, we'll need to get you a proper mount. I know that your horse was recently, well, stolen by that terrible man that ruined Shira's wedding. Join me out in the stables, will you? And I'm sure we can find another suitable mount for your purposes.
No, I don't know about all that, Curse. I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for old Cole.
Greta looks at you and with a sly smile and says, trust Curse Firehide. He knows what he's talking about. You'll love this, I promise.
I look at her with a little bit of suspicion, but I nod and agree to follow Curse.
He leads you through a door in the back of the room behind the shrine to Protos. It leads into a small hallway with several doors leading off of it, leading to inner chambers, a rectory, that kind of thing, but empties out in the back of the building. And you are led out into an open yard out behind this massive granite temple. And you see several fully armored knights of the Order of the Quill, gleaming silver breastplates with the quill and scroll crossed, stamped on all of them, standing at attention. And one of them is bowing their head with their hands clasped together as if praying intently. Their brow is furrowed, and Kurz says, "This is the stable of our order." And you see just a courtyard that is almost entirely empty except for some practice dummies, a few racks of training swords and these knights. But as you look on, this knight whose head is bowed and is praying suddenly snaps their head up and throws their arms wide, and from nowhere forms this beautiful, powerfully built destrier with flowing golden hair. It rears as it appears in this courtyard before settling back down and nuzzling the knight that summoned it. And the knight pats its head and then starts to secure a saddle on its back. And Kerr says, "Those knights of the Order of the Quill with the strongest devotion to Protos are not given some lowly beast from a ranch or farm. We are bestowed by the gods themselves with powerful servants that bear us fearlessly into battle, that share some of our God-given magic and strength. Here, you will summon your steed."
Whatever you say, Curse. I guess, by the light of Protos.
No, that's not right. Bow your head.
Oh,
Put your hands together.
all right. Yeah.
Now, imagine in your mind a powerful creature, a devoted, loyal friend that will bear you fearlessly into any danger in any land against any foe. A devoted partner in your quest against injustice and those who would do harm not only to innocence but to the written word itself. Ruger, what do you picture in your mind?
Cole.
Yeah. The image of Cole forms in your head, and it is as clear as if you were looking at him. You start to feel almost his presence. You see him running at a full gallop over some unknown landscape. You feel the breaths surging in and out of his powerful lungs. You see his mane streaming behind him, his eyes staring with purpose straight ahead as his powerful legs bear him like a whirlwind across the land. And the heat from his body seems to radiate off of him. You feel like you can almost reach out and touch him. And then you are filled with this surge of warmth and power, this absolute certainty that you can reach out your hand and place it on Cole's powerful flank. What do you do?
I lay a hand upon him.
You reach your hand out in front of you, and as you reach forward and touch this image of Cole you have in your mind, you are surprised to find that your hand touches the flank of your noble steed as solidly as if it was right in front of you. You open your eyes, and standing proudly before you in this courtyard, behind the Temple of Protos, is your magnificent warhorse Cole. Jet black, his mane streaming with an otherworldly grace, almost billowing like smoke. And he rears for a moment before standing resolutely on his four powerful legs and moves to nuzzle you. And Kerr says, "Fantastic! On your first try! Incredible! Nice work, Firehide. You see, just like all of us knights, you have been bestowed a noble..." Oh my god, is that actually Cole?
Well, I guess, but he's a little, I don't know, There's something supernatural about him.
Normally we summon our steeds from the ether, but I've never heard of someone summoning a earthly creature. He reaches out a hand to touch Cole, and his hand passes like right through Cole's mane, which is billowing like a cloud of black smoke up from his neck. Says, "Incredible! Your bond with this creature is great indeed."
He got me through a lot of trouble and some hard years.
Well, it seems like he will get you through quite a few more, Firehide. Welcome to the Order, and he claps you on the back. And you are reunited with Cole, your noble mount, which, because of your devoted tracker feat, is now not only your ranger animal companion, but also your paladin special mount, and gets the benefits of both of those things all at once. So you have a goddamn super horse.
Yes. With its own character sheet and everything.
Yes, a painstakingly constructed character sheet. Nice. All right. We will leave you there for now. We're going to jump to Rilla Longshadow.
Yeah.
You are in the city of Everspring. You've recently been brought back to life. You have time to rest, as even though you are back among the living, you are still weakened. Your constitution took quite a hit, and it will take a few days for that damage to be repaired. So you are kind of on sick leave, let's say. But you have days with which to play with. What would you like to do?
So the two things that I most want to do for Rilla are, one, create a memorial for her parents and I guess for all the other souls that were trapped for so long. So everyone knows what happened to them. And two, I need my kid sister to have some structure and adults that take care of her when I'm not here.
Sure.
So she's got to get into a school. I don't care which one, but she's got to go to. I'm signing her up for a school, essentially.
Rilla Longshadow, there is only one school. Come on.
You said there was like a rogue school too, right? Like
Dara's going to college. All schools are part of the college. Dara's going to
Okay.
college. Is that what you're telling me? You sending
Yeah.
Dara to college?
I'm sending Dara to college. We're gonna go back to school shopping, the whole deal.
Amazing. Amazing. Great. Well, yeah, that's fantastic. Let's start with this memorial. What do you want this to look like? How do you go about setting this up?
So this might be meta, but Brian was kind enough to point out that we have an ability to cast Magic Mouth on whatever we make. So
Indeed.
I'm thinking I want to commission. Oh, this is tough. I was gonna say a sculpture, but I was gonna say like something stone. But should it be wood? It wouldn't last as long, but it would be more fitting and also gruesome once you hear the story. Oh, that's hard.
Well, you do have access to the finest craftsmen in all the land, and they would be more than happy to sculpt for you whatever you'd like. And Moonbeam is a friend, and even Hektor could throw a Magic Mouth spell on there. So yeah, you are well within your means to craft whatever you'd like. What does this thing look like?
I think I want it to be the tree.
Okay.
But hanging off the tree, I want it to have the faces of my parents and also like a bunch of generic elves. Like, like it has like instead of fruit, it's got like faces dangling all over it.
Interesting. Okay.
Because this isn't a happy story, but I think that it's a story that needs to be certainly remembered and truthfully told. So I want it to be a little bit gruesome, I think.
Okay.
Their faces are peaceful, though. They're not, like, agonized. But I think I want that imagery.
So we're talking a giant wooden sculpture of a tree or stone. Wood or stone?
I think for permanent sake, it's going to have to be stone, right?
Okay.
It won't last long enough other. Stone carved to look like wood.
So you have commissioned an enormous stone tree, a monument to the.
One second. If you feed Zurabak, he'll probably cast Ironwood on that. And if you keep feeding him, the spell lasts days per level. He'll probably renew it if you keep feeding him.
Ooh.
So we could like grow a tree. Is that what you're saying? And then solidify it.
You can still make it out of wood. It'll just be as strong as metal then.
Ooh. So like it won't rot. It'll just be good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck it. Yeah. I get Zurabak in on this shit.
You just have to find him now.
Excellent.
You just go where the food is and wait. It's not hard. You'll come back to your throne eventually.
You get a side of beef and a wheelbarrow. It's fine. Hektor, are you going to throw Magic Mouth in this piece?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Rilla specifically comes to ask for that from Hektor.
I ask for Moonbeam's help because I can't make it permanent. I don't have permanency.
Gotcha.
But I will do the magic mouthing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is great. So over the course of these days, you bait Zurabak with a wheelbarrow full of meat, who eventually comes back.
I probably buy all the food discount. It's like rotten cheese, like whatever, because I know he doesn't care, and I'm not spending extra money on this.
Yeah, you drizzle it with a weak poison for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is the lovely combination of stuff. So you get you have commissioned a giant wooden sculpture of the martyr's tree, and it is set up. Do you have a particular location? Because I got one.
I'm open to yours. I was gonna say if not, like wherever most of the elves have settled.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
In the course of these days, the elves have sat down in a makeshift colony on the side of Lake Daenum where they can trade resources and information with the sea elves that live in the lake. They're calling it Lakeside for now because they're not very creative. So Lakeside is now this lovely sort of immigrant community. And yeah, Lakeside would be a perfect place for this. So you commission a towering wooden statue, a wooden sculpture of the martyr's tree affixed to the earth, sort of in the middle of Lakeside. And from the branches of this tree are like stone masks carved to look like the faces of your parents and all of the other elves sacrificed to it?
I think I want to put my parents at eye level in the trunk where they're visible, like where their faces are visible. But yeah, all the rest of them would be like masks of elves from with different markings, different traditional looks, whatever I can get to kind of show that this happened for a long time. Like
incredible.
All the different, so.
Yeah, they are hung by wooden chains that are carved to look like vines, and they rustle and clatter in the breeze that blows through these mountains. And after bribing Zurabak with food, ironwood is cast upon it to make it not only unable to be burned, but as tough as the hardest metal. And with Moonbeam and Hektor's help, Magic Mouth is placed on it. Now, what I'm picturing is every one of these elves has a Magic Mouth on it, every one of these masks, or what are you thinking?
How long does Magic Mouth last? Probably not very long, right? So
Moonbeam
like
can make it permanent, so it's whatever you want.
No, I mean like how much language can you put on it?
25 words?
Then yeah, definitely. It's going to have to be because I want to put as much detail of the story as we've learned into it, as much as we know.
Okay, so you have this monument tell the entire story of the first weaving of the veil, the elders perverting its purposes, and the noble sacrifice being turned into slaughter?
Yes, all the way through. No gory details left out. It can't happen again. And Rilla wants to make sure that a truthful record is kept for her people to not fuck up again.
If I may, the way that we will layer this then, your mother will start the story and every trigger is set as the previous Magic Mouth spell finishing. So it will go all the way around the tree and then your father will finish the story.
Beautiful.
incredible. Moonbeam is moved to tears by the scope of this project and is absolutely floored.
Oh, one more thing. I want the elves that survived to each hang at least one mask as part of it as they're going. Like it's a whole thing. Everyone's involved.
I have a thing that could very well involve this. When we get to me, I have ideas for how that can play out, if I may.
Well, I mean, let's hear him. We're doing this now. I mean, Ruger, if you
Okay.
have some shit to add to this, this is a group project at this point.
Let's hear what Brian has to say.
Well, so Hektor helps with this project, but also over the course of these few days, Hektor is working his hardest to organize an event. This was something he was going to do, whether or not you were making this monument. He wants to help the elves get integrated, and in the grand tradition of the gatekeepers, that means throwing a kegger. So Hektor was going to be working with. He's bought numerous kegs from the Crooked Stool before, so he knows the channels to go through there. I think Lakeside is the perfect spot to have the event, and I think that maybe a unveiling of this monument and a ceremonial placing of the masks would be a perfect thing to happen at this event.
That is precisely what happens. These days are filled with the furious planning and execution of this glorious and somber event. And you all get some casks of ale, you get some craftsmen, you get some spellcasters, and on one chilly evening, as a cold wind passes over Lake Danum, rippling the waters in the emerging starlight, a procession of elves transplanted from the Springvale Forest marches through their new makeshift home in Lakeside, each of them holding a wooden mask, hard as iron, that has been bespelled by Moonbeam and a few other bards from the college to tell the story of blood and betrayal that led to their exodus. They stream forward until they form a circle around this towering wooden sculpture of the martyr's tree, which has also been ensorcelled to never burn, never rot, and never fall. And one by one, they all move forward and hang a mask, a face of their ancestors with a piece of this terrible tale from the various limbs of this massive tree. The last of which are the masks of Rilla's mother and father, which Rilla and Dara dutifully hang on the trunk at eye level. When the last mask is placed, everyone takes a step back. All of these elves from Springvale in their new home silently look on as first the mask of Rilla's mother begins this terrible tale. And one by one, every mask begins to speak its part, going in a circle around this tree, dozens of these elven faces all imparting their fraction of this tale of woe and betrayal until it finally ends with the mask of Rilla's father, which says, "Heed this tale of blood and betrayal, that none may ever walk this trail again." The ring of elves around this monument all sigh deeply. Several of them cry softly into their hands. And after a few minutes, they turn and walk away from this monument back to the town of Dockside, and are met with a raucous celebration full of libations gathered from the Crooked Stool, the finest musicians in the entire world on loan from the Bard's College of Everspring, lights and magical illusions woven from the greatest spellcasters in the land, and a feverish celebration of life takes place as the elves and their new neighbors, their new brethren, dance furiously under the moonlight. And the elves of the Springvale Forest are welcomed fully into the fold of their new home in Everspring. And with that, we reach the end of Book 2. Hello and welcome to As the Dice Turns, the podcast after the podcast, where we take a deep dive into our player characters' motivations, characterizations, frustrations, and try to get a better understanding of them as people. In this part of our show, we like to ask one of our protagonists a question and see if we can't unearth some deeper truths about them. After the last fiasco with the, what I'm terming, Skater War, we're making some procedural changes here on our little after show. I will no longer be hosting all four of the protagonists in the studio at one time, as that always proves disastrous. Somebody turns the Roombas into an army, or turns my studio into a swamp. We're gonna have them in one at a time, and I'll ask one of them a question at a time, and that's just gonna be how we do things for the rest of the ride. Hopefully this will keep my studio and my sanity whole and keep Sharon from having to, restructure reality every 20 episodes or so. In any event, we are delighted to have Rilla Longshadow in our reconstructed studio, free from any half pipes or grind rails or anything like that. Rilla Longshadow, it's a pleasure to have you in the studio. Are you prepared for a normal interview show without any wacky craziness?
I mean, I guess I am. I'm really impressed by the lack of like stains or fire marks in here. Did you just rebuild the whole thing?
Well, honestly, I'm not quite sure what happened. As usual, after a horrific, terrible catastrophe caused exclusively by you all, Sharon did her magic, her inscrutable magic that I'm not sure how it works. And everything's just back to normal again. Almost like some divine force waved its hand and we're just back to square one. Love it. Love it. Thanks, Sharon! She says you're welcome. Anyway, Rilla, how are you today?
I am alive, which, in light of recent events, I didn't expect to be a thing. So, happy to be here, question mark?
Rather delightful. Have to say, couldn't be more excited that you're back amongst the living. That was quite a close call. I'm sure our listeners were a little concerned for your health and safety. But I can't imagine what those boys would get into if you weren't there to just drag them. It's a very important role you play. Just giving them shit and
keeping those egos down. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so important. So important. Anyway, the question we have today. You have undergone quite a trial recently. You returned to your homeland. You rescued your sister from fate formerly resigned for you. You died and were brought back to life. ironically becoming the very savior you had hoped to avoid becoming. I'm curious, now that you're back in the land of the living, now that the elves of the Springvale Forest have found a new home in Everspring, how do you see your relationship with the elves evolving moving forward? Do you see one at all? Obviously, you've received this new moniker, the Returned, after your miraculous recovery. You've saved them all from oblivion, something I'm sure they'll be telling their children and children's children about for all eternity. Do you plan to take any leadership role, any guiding hand? How do you see your relationship with the elven people moving forward?
That's a tough one. Before we went back home, there were two elves that I cared about on the entire planet, and one was my aunt and one was my sister, and the rest of them could die for all I cared. And now, in part thanks to my lovely little sister, I'm being transformed into a hero to them. It's a lot more attention than I want.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's kind of like a nightmare. I'm aware of the pressure, and I've got this phrase floating in my head that I don't know where it came from, but I keep thinking, last of the long shadows, and it's really weighing me down mentally. The responsibility, the pressure. So I'm not really sure what to do about all of that. I've got hundreds of years, unless I die again, hundreds of years to try and figure out my relationship with this cobbled group of different villages of elves.
Sure.
So there's plenty of time. I think for now, I'm probably just gonna focus on my family members and making sure my aunt doesn't go evil again, and the whole protagonist thing. Once that's over, maybe I can come to terms with no longer being a pariah / god figure or whatever was going on with Greenleaf, where they both loathed and stared at me all the time. So I don't know. I've got time to unpackage it. So much time. So that's where I am.
That's certainly a fair answer. I understand your relationship, your history with the elven people. Yes, you were an outsider, a villain, and now this vaulted hero figure. I'm sure it's a lot to unpack on your end. Your sister seems to enjoy the spotlight and leading elves in battle. Your aunt Arafin has become an elder herself and seems content to take up the official leadership role. I suppose it is a confusing position you take up, but one thing you touched on being the last of the Long Shadows, I suppose that's another thing to keep in mind, the concept of legacy. Romance, marriage, maybe children at some point. Not to add another axis to the spin you're on, but that's something to keep in mind as well, I suppose.
I mean, that's really something for like your 400s, right? Like, I've got time.
Well, I certainly hope that you are right. I guess one of the benefits of having an elven lifespan is that there's no end of possibilities and no end of chances. But I'm sure that I, myself, and the rest of our listeners will be very interested to see how your relationship with your people, if I may call them that, will evolve in the days to come. But we want to thank you, Rilla, for coming into the studio. We certainly appreciate you coming alone and not having any wacky stuff go on, keeping it nice and normal, just straightforward. I hope you have yourself a great day, and we'll see you next time you pop up in the old rotation.
Sounds good, host. I think I'm just gonna go find a real quiet spot to lie down.
That makes sense. You look a little pale, so maybe try to get
Yeah.
some sun. You know, vitamin D. It's good for what ails you. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here on As the Dice Turns. Sharon and I want to thank you for listening to this little show of ours, and until next time, keep those dice turning. Sharon, there wasn't any crazy stuff, right?
He has no idea, does he?
Hey there, dear listeners. Sam the DM here, checking in with the credits at the end of the show. Challenge Rating Zero was edited by the incomparable Audius Prime, aka Matt Sims. You can find more of his work at audiusprime.com. Music for Challenge Rating Zero is provided by the Harp Wolf, Danielle Williams. You can find more of her work at danielletaylorharp.bandcamp.com, including her album Why Are We Surprised When Seasons Change. Additional music for the show is provided by Justin Ra. You can find more of his work at justinra.com, including his album Age of the Spirit. You can find us on all the social medias. We've got a Facebook and an Instagram at Challenge Rating Zero. You can find us on Twitter at Challenge_0. And if you'd like to support us here at the show, we do have a Patreon. We put some more bonus content up there recently. That's patreon.com/CR_ZERO. We've got several different levels. We got a Discord and some bonus episodes on there, so feel free to partake. And if you can't support us fungibly, we totally understand. Tell a friend about the show. Leave us a review on your favorite podcasting application. We want to thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.